welcome to another episode of Whisking It All. We're here today with Sam Fonseca, founder of Restaurant Leadership Academy. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us. Appreciate you and very humble to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to chat with you. And really, the best place I like to always kick off is just understanding what you do today. So, obviously, I did a background research, but I'd love to for listeners to know. Can you just give them the brief intro before we jump into it more later? But brief intro, what is Restaurant Leadership Academy?
Yeah, definitely. Well, what we do is we help out founders. We help out founders in scaling their business and looking at their operations and finding opportunities to increase the business. Our biggest focus is to go in there. We run the ops method, which is we come in, we observe the business, we take down all the notes to see how we can improve it. We plan the play, and then we strategically implement the play. And that has led to some great results. So that's what we do. We go in there as a coach, not as a consultant. We get our hands dirty. We look at every part of the operation and help them grow.
I love that. And I'm always curious to understand how people get into the restaurant space. I love this space, but I like to hear people's stories. So what got you interested in the restaurant space in the first place?
I was a third income in my family, so I had to get to work as soon as possible. Both my parents' income was not enough to make sure that we took care of the home. I'm the oldest out of all my siblings, so I had to get to work. And my first job was working at a restaurant, and my first day at In-N-Out Burger was absolutely incredible. It was for myself. My mentality was to go into work to make sure that, everything, the financial situation at home was better. But once I got in there on day one, it was so impactful that I fell in love on day one.
Wow. That's so cool. And out of curiosity, just to go a bit deeper, what do you remember? Like, what did you like about it? Because I love that you loved it, but I imagine people's first day working in a restaurant, they probably maybe are indifferent. But there was something that obviously stuck with you. What do you think it was that kind of made that impression on you?
This was back in 1994, January
Yep.
24th, 1994. Still
Wow.
remember this day. And the reason why it was so impactful is because I was working with and for a great general manager that worked for a great company, right? It was this perfect sweet spot of working for a phenomenal company that's a Hall of Fame, been around for now 75 years. They take pride in what they do. It's a beautiful company. But on top of that, I was very fortunate to work with Rick Pendleton. And Rick is the man. On day one, he was ready for me. He was ready to go, right? It wasn't like I came in and he was scrambling to look for a uniform and he was scrambling to find out who was going to train. No, he made sure that he was part of day one. He was part of my first entire week. So when you have the leader right next to you, shoulder to shoulder, working with you, it's impactful. He took me through a head of lettuce, and this is how we hand lead a head of lettuce. And when it gets towards a core, it's a little bit more difficult. But he told me, Sammy, make sure you do this correctly because you don't want any bad parts to go on a customer's burger. We take pride in what we do. When I came into the orientation, he shook my hand and he wouldn't let it go. And he told me, the handshake of the host is more important than the taste of the roast. He looked into my eyes and he wouldn't let go of my hand. The handshake of the host is more important than the taste of the roast. This time you say it, Sammy. The handshake of the host is more important than the taste of the roast. What does that mean? We have a great burger, but the way that we're going to be better than anybody else, better than any other In-N-Out, is by great customer service.
That's awesome.
That was day one. Okay. So growing up, my parents taught me about taking pride in what you do,
Yeah.
not being on time, being early, make sure you come in with great energy, make sure you leave the place better than how you found it. And then I go work with Rick and he's reinforcing the same thing that my parents and the same values that my parents are talking about.
Awesome.
So when you talk about your first day, think about your first day at any job,
Yeah.
right? Most of them are pretty shitty.
Yep.
Okay. And they're not ready for you. And they give you now an iPad and have you watch 6 hours of videos of the
So true.
founder and how they started. But it's not the general manager there that's passionate. It's just another task. It's just
Yeah.
another newbie coming in, right?
Yeah.
That's what was so different.
That's
We
amazing.
had a VHS, we had a VCR. He could have showed me all the videos, right? And eventually we did get to some of those videos. But he's like, no, I want to personally train you. That way if you do something and you take a shortcut, I can look straight into your eyes and say, I didn't train you that way. Where did you pick that up?
So
So
cool.
I could do a whole hour just on Rick Pendleton, to
I
be
love
quite
this.
honest.
And to be honest, I think it's also a great lesson. You know, we have a lot of restaurant operators that obviously are tuned into the show. And I think there's a lesson there that managers listening or just restaurant operators listening, that you can have a big impact on someone's life. And the proof is right here. It's 30 years ago, right? 1994. And you remember that day. And so I think there's a lesson for people listening, like, put that extra effort to training staff because it doesn't go unnoticed. And here's a prime example. So thanks for sharing that story. And I love to know, like, what did that evolution look like? So this is, obviously early days, 94. You get your first taste. You're like, okay, this guy Rick inspired you. Love his values. You're working your way up. What if we kind of like fast forward, I know then you ended up at some point, and I'm probably missing pieces of the story, so feel free to jump in. But I know you ended up, I believe, at Dave's Hot Chicken. Well, even before that, I think you were at
Raising Cane's.
another. Yes, there you go,
And,
at Raising
and
Canes. At,
one of the things that really excites me is, and what I share with folks is that I've been really fortunate and blessed to have YFB eyes, young, fun, brand eyes. So when I'm studying a business, whether they're coming into where I live or if I'm reading about them through restaurant publication, or I keep my eyes open and I'm always looking for a young, fun brand. What does that mean? A brand that has an energy to it. You could be a 75-year-old brand at In-N-Out Burger and still be a young, fun brand. It's
yeah,
exciting. It feels great, right? But I'm always looking to see, and that's something that I really love. And as I'm now working with different clients, I'm looking for the next young, fun brand that is young. They have inexperience. They have opportunities, right? When I saw Raising Cane's coming into California, and
yeah,
even before they got to California, when I would go to Vegas and I would tell my friends, like, hey, I'm heading out to Vegas to go watch a game, what have you, they would tell me, hey, make sure you stop by Raising Cane's. What is that? It's just chicken fingers, but you're going to love it. I'm going to go to Vegas and have chicken fingers? Vegas, you can have anything from around the world.
yeah,
Why,
yeah.
why am I going to go do that, right? But it stuck with me. It stuck with me. So the day that Raising Cane's got out to California and I saw the lines out the door and the energy, I knew I had to go. And I went in there, hands, and as I'm driving up, the guy that's working security and controlling traffic, Victor, I know him. He's like, Sam, get in here. You've got to try this. Let me introduce you to Cheryl. She is now the regional vice president of operations in California. I want you to meet her. This is a guy that he used to be our security guard somewhere else. What I think is really important that I share also is every relationship is important. Every relationship is important. And you go into every relationship not trying to figure out what you can get out of that relationship. You go into the relationship of, I appreciate you. I value you. We have a great working environment. We have a great working relationship. I worked with Victor years ago. Then here's this guy, and he's a gatekeeper to the parking lot. And he's like, come on in. Let me introduce you to somebody. Cheryl asked me if I was looking at the time. I said, I'm not really looking at this time. She gave me her business card. I gave her my business card.
Yeah.
She called me up and said, hey, we would love to see if you would love to come on board at Raising Cane's.
Wow.
And at this point, I said, okay, well, what kind of position do you have? Do you have a director of operations? Do you have a district manager? She said, no, at this time, we only have a general manager position. And I thought, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go backwards in my career? Something that I realized is I started thinking about it and thought, you know what, let me give this a shot. I really feel like there's something here with Raising Cane's. And I trained for 4 months out in Texas to cook chicken fingers. Hilarious. But there's more to it. It's such a great company. They have great systems. Come back. I opened up the Downey location. We break records that have never been broken in 26 years, right?
Wow.
We're doing $10 million a year at this location.
Nice.
And,
Wow.
but there's even more here. And I'm starting to notice, like, if we do things differently, for example, I can't get to the restaurant when my schedule says 8 o'clock in the morning because I'm way behind. We're so busy that we're never going to get caught up. So I start getting to the restaurant myself and a team of 5 people at 3 o'clock in the morning.
What?
Get there at 3 o'clock in the morning and we're opening up at 10 o'clock in the morning. We have 18-year-olds showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting to work. And it's the environment. We were pumping music. We're pumping cane sauce. We're doing lemonade juice. We're doing everything. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and you would think it's a party, right? And it was just such high energy. We have a meeting and I asked the staff, we have a staff of 100 people. I asked them, we have a store meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning. These are 16-year-olds. These are 17-year-olds, right? And they're getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning and we have a meeting, right? Before that, I go get donuts. As I'm getting donuts, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a line out the door. I'm like, what's going on here? So I turned to one of the guys. This is down in California, very blue collar. And I asked the guy, hey, what do you guys eat this early? He's like, yeah, we start at 5. We got to get a bite to eat. So I asked him, what time are you eating lunch? He said, we eat lunch at 9 o'clock in the morning. Where do you go? He said, I can't find a place. Right? So I get back to our meeting. And at our meeting, I tell everybody, hey, from now on, we're opening up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they're like, all right, we're already here. So we start selling at 9 o'clock in the morning. Our sales go from $10 million a year to $12 million a year. The president of the company calls me up and he asked me, who told you can open at 9 o'clock in the morning? And I said, hey, you told me to run the company like I own it, run my restaurant like I own it. And the sales at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're doing about $250 a day from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are cranking on the sales. Okay. And now the whole company has gone to opening up at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you think about it and you do the math, there's over 700 restaurants and they're all opening up at 9 o'clock in the morning. If everybody's selling from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., $250, that's a $51 million idea that keeps growing every single time they open up a restaurant. So that's when I started really realizing, hey, I've been able to do it now at In-N-Out. I've been able to do it at Raising Cane's. And then somebody came knocking at my door and asked me, hey, we're looking for somebody to be our operator and our franchisee for Dave's Hot Chicken. Are you interested? At the time, they only had 2 locations. And I thought, there's no way. We're doing so well at Raising Cane's. I got promoted. Now I'm running 10 restaurants. We have the busiest area in the entire company as far as volume. We're doing about $65 million a year between 8 to 10 restaurants. We're just crushing it. And this is an average check of $8.53, right? We're doing $12 million from down in California with an average check of $8.53. That means we're seeing at 1.4 million customers a year. Dave's Hot Chicken came into the picture. I thought about it a lot, talked to my parents, talked to my wife, prayed about it, and decided to make the move. We head over there. We open up our first location in Lakewood, California, guess what happens? Busiest restaurant in the entire company.
Damn. Okay.
So now I'm thinking about my experience at In-N-Out. We led in sales. We led in profitability. We led in lowest turnover because we had a great environment. We went over to Raising Cane's, did the same thing. Went over to Dave's Hot Chicken, did the same thing. And then now I start thinking about, just like a great coach figures out the formula. And now I've got a formula and I feel very, very confident wherever we go, we apply the formula and you get sometimes the same results. So it's been a very exciting career. And now I'm absolutely living my dream. I get to meet founders, right? And founders, a lot of them are cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
They're very, very creative. They were able to create something special and their idea, and now that they can open up their restaurants. But one of the things that I've noticed now working as a restaurant coach is that when I meet founders, sometimes they'll look at me in the eye and say, Sam, I don't even want to go into my locations. It breaks my heart. And this is, something that they love, that they started, that they rolled up their sleeves and, built this beautiful thing.
Yeah. Blood, sweat, and
And,
tears. Yeah.
and now we coined that. And what I see is founders fatigue. It's a
Yeah.
founder's fatigue. You could see them. They go, I've lost love for my baby. And it's so painful. And the reason why is because they need help in operations. And that's where I come in and sit down. We look at the business. We take a really good study of what we have going on. We look at the number one most important person in the business, which is Rick Pendleton, the general manager of the business. If you get that right and you make sure that you are hiring and training and have the ability to retain great people, watch your company grow. But they also need mentoring. They need coaching, so that's for
Huge.
us what we're doing.
I love that, and so that's a great story, by the way, and yeah, I think a lot of restaurateurs get into the business for their love, right? The founder love and building something out of nothing, and just the passion. But then they kind of get, like you said, I like that term, founders fatigue, because you get sucked into just day to day ops, and you're not doing things right, and they're not scaling, and then you start getting kind of tired, and like you said, it turns into resentment. And so I love what you're doing and your mission behind your company. And what would you say is a typical type of client you help these days? Because I'm assuming with your experience, is it now? So do you focus on those type of places like QSR, multi-unit chains, or where do you find you typically add the most value in terms of like ops?
It's such a wide range because in the coaching, it's not like for example, in football, right? You have a quarterback coach or you might have a defensive coordinator, right? In this realm, you tailor make it to whoever the client is and whatever stage they're at. We have a client that has 25 locations, right? But is looking to see, how do we make this even better? We've kind of hit a place where now we're a little stale, and our sales have told us that, right? Or you have somebody that has one location, but they know they're not running as a top tier restaurant. Or you have 5 locations, so it's all over the place, right? The founder's fatigue part doesn't really come into place based on number of units. You could have, X amount. It's really like how much time you're putting in and noticing that what you felt was going to be something so easy is actually very difficult. One of the best compliments you can give somebody in the restaurant industry is, this looks very easy. That's such a great compliment.
That's true.
because there's so much that goes into making it look easy.
True. That's very true. Well said. And so, what for our listeners tuning in, what are some typical, I guess, improvements they can make? And obviously, this is going to be a bit of a blanket statement. But let's say you're a restaurant, you're listening in, and you're just struggling from your experience. And I know it's not a one size fit all because it's tailored. But what are some low hanging fruit when it comes to, hey, these are some things you could do that will probably improve your operations, at a high level. Anything you can share in terms of maybe mistakes most restaurants are making or things they can do to improve?
Number one is, just like anything else you want to get better at, you've got to have a coach. You have to have somebody that can see at a higher level. Most of the time, I would say, as a founder or as a
Yeah.
franchisee, you spend thousands of dollars. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to open up a location
Yeah.
and to buy the equipment package and to get all that stuff. But you personally have to also grow yourself as a founder. You have to grow your people. If you don't have that, you're missing out. You might not be able to see what's wrong with you. It's like for myself in my golf game, which is horrible. Okay.
Yeah.
If I can go out to the range every week, 5 times a week, but if I don't know what I'm doing wrong and I don't have somebody to go, Sam, stop. Well, let's work on your grip.
Right.
Let's work on your backswing. Let's work on this. Let's work on where your feet are located. I can't see that because I'm so busy
Yeah.
performing the swing that I don't have anybody to see and give me that feedback. Same thing with the folks that are going, well, I just spent $30,000 on that fryer. And you go, okay, but you're standing in front of that fryer all day. You don't know what your customer is saying right now because you're not available. As a matter of fact, the most important customer is a customer that's in your building and also the one that pulls on the door of the handle, looks in and walks away. But you are so damn busy in front of that fryer that you have no clue, why did that potential customer walk away? You're not available, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things that I can see from, different founders, different restaurants is they're not very passionate about interviewing. They
Super important job,
delegate,
right?
they delegate that responsibility to somebody else,
Hmm.
or they go, let me have an interview. And at the same time they're interviewing, their phone's going off. They're looking at
Hmm.
their watch. They're doing this or doing that. They're not even they're not passionate about
Presence. Yeah.
interviewing. So
Yeah.
how do you expect to have a kick-ass team
Yeah.
when you don't even know how to interview? You're not even passionate about interviewing, right? You're not. So there's so many different layers to the question. I think it's a great question, but I think one of the major parts to it is I think people quit too early and they think this should be very easy. When in actuality, you always need somebody to help you. Look at opportunities. Look at the opportunities that you're not observing. I had a potential client. I said, hey, how many things are you missing?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I'm going to write a list of what I think we can get better at. And I
Okay.
said, hey, how about if you don't even know how to even find what you're not good at?
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, shoot. I said, absolutely. You used to sell cars before, right? And now you have X amount of locations, which is fantastic. You have a great product. But how about if your biggest issue is the person that you look in the mirror?
Yeah.
How about if that's the biggest issue? You need to grow, right? So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that I look at.
And it's great feedback because it's that whole idea of you don't know what you don't know. It's like I know this, I don't know this. Like I don't know about biochemistry, whatever. But then there's a whole pool of just I don't know what I don't know. Like no, I don't even know the things I don't. That I don't know type of thing. So that's interesting on its own, and you're right. And then the idea that coach, I love that too because it reminds me of a coach I used to have. Well, indirectly because it was his company and he was like the founder, but Dan Martell, and it was more coaching for SaaS products, and then Whisk is a software company in the hospitality space. But he used to always say, which I love, is like, can you imagine going to the Olympics without a coach? And he's like, they're the best at what they do, but they still have a coach, right? And it's like, it made me just think of that accountability side, the learning side, the growing side, because it's like, it's impossible to always kind of know what the next step is. And sometimes you just need someone who's been there to kind of just help guide you. And I think that's something that's like pretty undervalued. And a lot of people might not really think of it. So I'm glad you shouted that out, because sometimes like that could be the biggest inflection point is you find a coach, you start seeing things differently, you start thinking of things you didn't even think or knew you were doing wrong. And all of a sudden your whole trajectory changes, right? So it's
Yeah. The
impactful
way
to
that
say
I
the least.
absolutely the way that I look at it as well, and I've always thought about it is I'm not a big NASCAR guy, right? But I do watch NASCAR, and I found it interesting that you could be the Jeff Gordon, you could be the driver, right, of that car, and you have to be very talented. You have to make decisions like coming at you at like the rate of speed is just insane, right? But I never
All
knew
right.
that Jeff Gordon had somebody sitting in the middle of the track where he's a lot higher as a crew chief. And then I started studying this. The crew chief is in Jeff Gordon's ear, telling him, go high, go low, do this, do that. There's a tire flying or there's an accident. Watch out for this. And that's how I look at it. You're the driver of your business. You're in there every day. You have to make decisions on labor, on food costs, on menu, on pricing, on who to hire, who to terminate. You're making all these, but you're in the car, right? But you need that crew chief to be a little bit higher and to go, hey, I think that person just needs training. Don't pull the trigger on letting that individual go. This person is talented. They just need training. But you could see it at a different level.
It's
So
right.
that's the way that I look at it is the coach is the crew chief that can tell you, and then you have a driver in the business, right? And you have a great driver and you have a great crew chief. Watch that, just
Yeah.
a lot of championships come your way.
I love that. I love that. And so for people kind of listening in that are maybe looking for that coach, if they come to you, what does the typical process look like? Like tell me a bit about the process, how they reach out to you, what I guess what the process would be to see if they're a good fit and if you can help, and then what do your typical consultations like look like? Is it long term, short term? So anything you want to say, but really just want to give people a sense of like what does it look like to work with Sam?
Great question. So within the first, we do onboarding. So the onboarding is a 60-day process where we are going in there, we're evaluating, we run the ops method. And what the ops method is, I talked about it earlier. The ops method is, the O stands for we observe the business. We observe the customers, are the leaders in the business. What are their routines? Where are their opportunities? The P is really plan the play. Once we observe and we have a good amount of data
Yeah.
that we observe, then we create a plan. And then the
Yeah.
S is we strategically play the plan. We put the system in place, and that's an ops method. We look
Yeah.
at it, and within a short amount of time, we're seeing some great results. With the current client that I'm working with right now, very excited to see we've had to make some changes in their staffing, their overhead, also how they were running their commissary.
Okay.
Saved them a ton of money on that. Within the first 30 days, we were able to look at a location and figure out how to better run that business. We had to streamline the whole thing. So we went in there after closing. We did it all the way till 5 o'clock in the morning, change around equipment, moved around the business to make it a lot easier for people to perform. The very next day, we saw a 45% increase in sales. Okay. So not only in a short amount of time are we observing the business, but we are creating positive change in a short amount of time. I just finished up the first 30 days with the current client that we're working with, right?
Yeah.
In these 30 days, we signed another lease to increase the business. This was a business that he was not very happy about the results. And now we're actually signed on another location. We're
Awesome.
interviewing, looking for great people, looking for great leaders. We're going to have some people relocating to join him. Very excited about this. People are a major part of how this works. You have to have the right people. So helping them through the interviewing process, through the recruiting process, really taking a look at how we're doing there. So that's how we're doing it, looking at how we can increase sales. We've been very, very happy with the return on the sales that we're seeing already. As we go into our slower time of the year, we've been able to increase sales year over year. So
Nice.
you talk about it. Anything that has to do with operations, within the first 30 days, you should have an impactful coach will have impactful results.
I love it. Well said. Well said. And so for people, as we wrap up, for people who want to find you, I know we did some quick shout outs before, but just to summarize, where can they find you? Feel free to plug everything and anything, your LinkedIn, your Insta, your website, everything. That way they can link up. And I'm sure, we have a lot of restaurant listeners. I'm sure there's some that may definitely benefit from this type of, coaching. And so, yeah, feel free to plug away.
Definitely. My LinkedIn is a great one. So that's Sam Fonseca 88. My LinkedIn is number one. You could see everything that I've been talking about for the last couple of years. You can find it there. And you could see that it's the same Sam from years ago. We talk about the same things. We're focused on the same things on people and systems. You could also go to our Instagram, which is at Restaurant Leadership. So you'll see some of the things that we're putting out some content there because we are going to be starting a course for folks online. And again, these courses are, if you're a shift leader and you're looking to, how do I get promoted to become an assistant manager? If you're an assistant manager, if you're a franchisee, if you're a founder, we are here to help you. So at Restaurant Leadership, you could also, my personal Instagram is at Sam Fonseca 88. And excited to meet with you and to see how we can help your business grow.
I love it. Cool. So you heard it there, guys. Once again, Sam Fonseca, founder of Restaurant Leadership Academy. Tons of knowledge. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And Sam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
If you want to learn more about Whisk, head to whisk.ai and book a demo.